So in this video we're going to be showing you how to create your round 6 of the pentagon, and we're going to be joining on one edge to our core bands, and you can see hopefully that we definitely need round 6 because round 5 does not match the base of the bands at all. So the first thing we will do is pick a point that will become our top, which is as far away as we can get from our bands, and that will be our starting point, and we will be joining on side 3. So I'll show you how to create side 1, and then I will jump ahead to side 3 and I will be showing you how to join, and we start off joining with our gold side bands. We then move across the bottom of the band, and then we continue back up around to complete our pentagon. So hopefully you'll stick around and I'll show you how to do all of that. As we work this 6th row, we started off creating 3 trebles and then the chain space and another 2 trebles. Then we moved to 2 trebles, chain space, 2 trebles, and on this final row we'll be doing 1 treble, the chain space, 1 treble in this gap. So we're not going to be increasing massively, but don't get confused with the previous row. So it will simply be 1 treble, 3 chains and another treble in each of the corners. So regardless of what we're doing in terms of attaching either to the base panels or to different side panels, each corner will always have 1 treble, 3 chains, 1 treble. So I just thought that was quite important to say before we begin. And the first thing we'll do is join our outer colour, and we will chain 5, which is our chain space of 3 plus 2 chains to create our initial treble. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll create a treble in this corner space. Which gives us our first corner gap. And then we're going to move down the side, and we will be I was going to say sewing, no, knitting, no, we will be crocheting a treble in each chain space. So as before, we're going to go in our first gap here. So this will be 1, 2, and we'll be tidying away any of our ends as we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Five. My tail is being decidedly unhelpful. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11, and we should have 16 by the time we come to the end. 12, loosen up some yarn. 13, 14 is where we did the join, so again that might be a little bit tight. 15, and then our 16th is going to be in our chain space. So that is our 16 across the top. So I'll just count those through, ignore the one that was at the beginning of the chain space. So after the chain space we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Excellent. So then we have the 16, and we do 3 to give us our chain space, 3 chains, and then we go back to our treble. And this will be our point that is furthest away from our banding that we're attaching to, because this was actually going to attach along the base here. So we're going to continue on to the second side, and we will chain down. We will continue down to that corner in the same way, using all the trebles that we've just done. So I'll meet you back at that corner. So right now we have completed our 14 stitches, so we should have 15, including the additional one that we created here. So I'll just double check that. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15. And we're now going to create our first treble in this corner. We're then going to chain 1, and we're going to take the panel and we're going to insert the hook down through the gold banding to do our first join, or our first slip stitch. So the hook goes in and through, out the bottom, not worrying about any of these other loose ends at the moment, and then hook that round, bring it back through and slip stitch that through. I'm going to move the rest of these yarns out of the way. We'll do another chain, and then again, keeping those yarns out of the way, those loose ends, we're going to do our second treble in this corner. So that's our corner connected. So hopefully you can see there we have a treble, chain space, slip stitch, chain space, and then treble. And so now we're going to work on our join, and this is the same join that we will have used earlier, which will be a top down a treble on the side of our pentagon and a slip stitch on the side of the band. And for each of these, excuse me there, each of these we're going to try and tidy away these loose ends, but also we're going to be keeping our yarn down the centre. So we start with our first treble, which goes into this teeny space. Get the treble neatly out of the way, and then we're going to drop down into not this very first gap, but the first actual stitch. And so we'll insert the hook down in that first stitch, and then bring the yarn back up, and then slip that through as a slip stitch, and then move on to make our next treble. And this time I'm going to start tidying away these loose ends. I just want it to have a nice clean first set of treble and slip, and then we can go through, we slip down, bring the yarn back up and pull through, and then we can progress down the length of the pentagon there, so that we are now joining the two sides together. So I will move ahead a couple and show you what that looks like. Here we are with the join as we've moved further along the process. So I'll just show you a couple more times without any of the loose tails, just to make sure that everyone can follow along with the join quite clearly. So we start with a treble on the main panel of the pentagon, keep the yarn moving down the centre between the two panels, and then simply drop your hook through from the top of the back panel, bring the yarn through and slip stitch, and really that's all there is to it. It's just a matter of top down rather than bottom up for that slip stitch, and it moves along very quickly once you've actually got your head around that process. So I'll just continue on to the end of this row and show you how we join the final corner before just finishing off the pentagon as you would any other end. So we're nearly there. So we're now at the point where we have our final treble and chain gap, And we have now reached the end of our panel, and we're going to be joining from our treble to a chain 1. We're going to slip stitch that through as we have for the rest of the join. Pop that through and then slip stitch. Make sure you pull that all tighter once you've actually done that, so we've got our tension remaining consistent throughout, and then we slip stitch and then we treble. Now what I'm going to do is tidy away this loose end as well as I go back up here. So we're putting our second treble in this corner space section. So as before, if I open that out, get my hand out a shot, we have been running our join all the way along, and then we've come to our corner. We've got a treble, a chain, a slip stitch through the gold joining band, then we've got another chain, and then a final treble in this gap in that section there. So we're now going to work our way down the other two sides as we did in the first side, and so we're going to first treble into that little gap there, and then I shall meet you back. And now we're down to the final join, which is a simple slip stitch into our original chain spacing that we did. We'll just trim that off, and then I can double check the counts with you. So we should have 16 trebles from chain space to chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Excellent. And so you can see that we now have our pentagon with point out and neatly joined to our red panel. And the next panel that we'll be joining will be joined on side 2. However, it won't be side 2 of this original pentagon, which would be over here. It is side 2 of the new pentagon. So our new pentagon, if you can imagine it, will come in side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4, side 5. So we will actually be joining along this edge when we come to join our next pentagon in place. So I shall go and create the core, and once I've got my first side joined, first side of round 6 created, I'll then come back and show you how to join side 2 and side 3. So I'll see you then. Bye for now.